YouTube? This is Not a Misfortune, bringing you another episode in my Match of the Week installment. This is the second video in the series. This is going to be again a round 2 match. It was just happened to be another good match in this round. It was filled with great matchups, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to cast both of them. There was honestly great games. I think I could have cast 4 from these 2 weeks, but I do have to pick the 2 best ones. So this matchup is between LilRoh and Hope, and they are playing their first match on Way Station Zeta. Now, Way Station Zeta so far in this league has a 45% pick rate and about a 36% ban rate. So it's a very, I would say, controversial map. I am certainly not a fan of this map by any means. And the interesting part is that I didn't expect it to be so, but Cybern actually accounts for half of the matchups on this map. So we will see how this goes. Obviously, this is going to be a Cybern versus Cybern match. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. So I'm paused at 5 seconds. I'm going to unpause in 3, 2, 1, play. All right, in the left, gosh, my directions, I think this is going to become a trend. In the left, we have our red Cybern commander, the player that was a runner-up in our Winter Open tournament. We have LilRoh already building a land factory, I believe, or nope, sorry, this is an air factory. And she's going to scout. And her opponent in the right, this time I got the directions right, we have our orange Cybern commander with the name of Hope, who's also opening up with 1 air factory and probably going to be scouting with that as well. So Way Station Zeta is an interesting map. The reason why I don't like it is because it's such a error, like you can't recover from errors on this map, in my opinion, as well as you can on some of the other maps. Because if you miss, I mean, yes, if you're a good player, you're not supposed to be missing anything. But if you do happen to miss bots entering any one of these bridges up here or up here, you just completely let them through. Which, again, if you're a good player, is not supposed to happen. But if you do, it happens to everybody. Chances are they're gonna really inflict some really good damage on you. In addition, you can park your mobile missile launchers here or here, and you have a really good coverage of your opponent's base. Furthermore, you can park them here. And again, if your opponent has let them through, which, I mean, at this point, like right here, it's not that hard for you to get them over here. They have range over all of these mass extractors here. So, you know, it's not my personal favorite map. I think there's way better maps. I just think 1 error on this map has far more consequences than an error on, say, Open Palms. On Open Palms, yes, if you let your opponent into your pocket and you have an expansion down there, that is pretty substantial. But I have a feeling, like, here, the difference between Open Palms and there is that on over here, let's say your radar is covering over here. You miss them by like half a second, they're already here. They're already taking your stuff out here, and then they might be here if your army was here. On Open Palms, your army would have been here, and even if they make it to here, you can intercept them by going straight over here. So it's very difficult situation for you to counter those run-bys. Now, we see some air coming out for LilRoh. She built 2 air factories in the meantime that I was basically ranting. I do apologize. I'm not really complaining. I'm just sharing my point of view of this map, and just for those of you that might not be familiar with this map, I think it's just an interesting thing to do, to overview the map before we get into the game. Anyway, because LilRoh opened up with 2 air factories, and I believe Hope saw that, he built an anti-air factory, which is actually in a very good position covering both of these expansions. So based on that map explanation, basically part of the reason why I was going into it is because I'm surprised that both of these players picked Cybern, because of that, you know, MML power on this map is pretty good in my opinion. And obviously Cybern is not as great in the MML department because Cobras A are research unlocked, and B, their range is quite a bit shorter than the other races. or the other factions rather. So I think we can increase the speed to 3. Probably should have done it earlier. While these players continue to set up here, looks like a research station for Hope. Neither player is electing to go land. And meanwhile, I think LilRoh is a little bit ahead on her mass extractors. She is trying to eco up, which I mean, she still hasn't seen a land factory, so it probably is a good thing that she is going into a little bit of an eco. She can definitely sit back a little bit, and even if her opponent did have a land factory, her air could do a decent amount of work in the meantime. The only thing that I think LilRoh could be doing is she does have an opening over here where she could come with her planes and bombard, and the anti-air tower will not cover that. Still doing a really good job expanding mass extractor wise. I think she's up by, wow, actually quite a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass extractors now. Meanwhile, Hope is building more research stations, and actually LilRoh is beginning to build research stations of her own now that she's basically filled up all of her economy, and her economy is probably booming at this point. Hope is still producing fighters. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure I agree with that. If you're deciding not to build a second air factory when you've seen 2 air factories from your opponent, and when you're down air, I don't know if continuing to produce air is exactly the best option. However, he is building research stations, which is pretty good. It's quite so when you're not pushing your air opponent with ground, when you're not bringing your ACU basically up in your opponent's face when they have nothing but air essentially, you're most likely gonna be turtling, and these research stations are suggestive of that as well. So I expect, well, I can't say that because I know what this replay is. Obviously I picked it, so I had to have watched it. But I know the outcome of this game. But yes, I believe, even if I didn't see this replay, that this is very indicative of a turtle. And Hope is getting his second air factory. Again, I'm not necessarily agreeing with this, but he is building a third one, so it might be able to catch him up, depending on the tech choices that he makes. It's just hard to catch up on air. And again, adapters with a run by is just really good on this map. If you have adapters that are able to count this air, essentially you have unlimited run bys. So don't necessarily agree. However, we do see a artillery station coming down, which is not a bad choice. Artillery is always good. Let's see, he probably also has vision on it upgraded, so this will be very good for him to know what his opponent is doing. Now, LilRoh has researched megaliths. As you can see, there's a megalith queued up in this land gantry. It's unfortunate that she built it right in her base, because now that there's artillery, it's able to see exactly what's happening, and chances are Hope will be able to counter it, not only, maybe even destroy it at this point. More research stations coming out for LilRoh, but she is doing a really good job healing this land gantry while it's building its first megalith. This artillery piece, there's only one of them at this moment, and I don't believe there's a second one on the way yet, so this artillery piece is not going to be as effective, but it is a good scouting tool, and I think Hope can now start to prepare for the megalith a little bit. We already see, well, actually no, this is an anti-air turret. So yeah, we see some coverage against air. There's 2 anti-air towers here. I would love to see adapters here. They're just such a great turtle unit, especially in this situation when there's air. Just so good. We see more air factories coming out for LilRoh. She's probably she's already doing it. There's a mobile or a stationary missile launcher on these factories. Already taking out a mass extractor, so that's pretty good. And that's actually a very good strategy. Meanwhile, the first megalith is making its way towards Hope's base and starting to do work on that leftmost mass extractor. Of course, megaliths are fairly strong. However, I believe that their weakness is definitely shields, so these shields are holding up pretty well against it. Against its fire, and we actually see Hope researching the shield generator structure the dedicated shield, which is going to be able to do a very good job to protect against this Megalith's fire. Second Megalith is queued up, and it's actually going to manage to finish before that artillery piece manages to take it out, so that's definitely good. A lot of research stations coming out for LilRoh. She's on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, 10 research stations. Meanwhile, her opponent Hope is on 3 still. Yeah, I believe 3, and way behind on economy. So again, I would love to see some adapters here. I don't think air is the greatest choice here, even though he is fighting over his anti-air here. And LilRoh is kind of retreating and letting him take free shots here. Even with all that, it's still a very not an effective way to counter this plane start, in my opinion. These shields are doing great. There's 4 shields out, so this Megalith is really not doing much work at this point. However, what is doing work is LilRoh is doing a beautiful job countering this by getting adapters of herself and also getting Cobras. Cobras are definitely going to be a really good tool against these shields. Another air engagement coming in. This Megalith is starting to take some fire from something. I'm not quite sure. Probably from the planes. And actually that air factory went down. Still only 1 artillery piece for Magenra, or sorry, Magenra. I'm still in the final of the Serpents open mode. For Hope, is not going to be doing too much, although it does manage to finally clean out that land gantry. But there is a second land gantry for LilRoh up in her opponent's face, basically. I'm not sure that this artillery piece can even target this little contingent. Now there's 2 Megaliths. However, this Megalith is taking fire from a PD. That is not something you want to see as an experimental. You should not be taking fire from point defense installations that have very crappy range. And I would also love to see LilRoh use her air advantage to start taking out some of these mass extractors. You know, even with these anti-air towers, there's really nothing that can stop her from taking this out. The interesting thing is that she has so many planes, but it's not doing a great job taking out these mass extractors. She had to do 2 pass-throughs on that to finish that one off. Now we also see recyclers coming out. That is definitely a really good tool against these Megaliths. They will fall, and they actually do quite a bit of damage. They're a great defensive tool, especially in a choke point such as this, to just restart reclaiming. And you see that Megalith is having its health reduced quite a bit. There is 2 artillery stations now, which are still having trouble touching the main base. However, this little expansion for LilRoh has been taken out. I think LilRoh finally decided to do some damage on these back mass extractors, but for some reason Hope still has control over all of them. A lot of Cobras on the field, but you just see so many shields from Hope. Gosh dang it, I keep making this mistake. Now, what is a great answer against shields? Recyclers. Recyclers are absolutely wonderful against shields because obviously they don't care about shields. This is why this is such a great tool against Megaliths and adaptive composition, because these don't care about adapters. Adapters can't do damage. Just reclaim 1 Megalith and you're basically golden. If you have 4 of them, they'll actually reclaim a Megalith very quickly. Still 2 artillery pieces, however there's now 2 recyclers. This little expansion has been taken out. There's a lot of missiles coming in for this base. LilRoh is doing like a really good job, essentially creating a concave of attacking structures here that are doing a very good job focusing fire on this section, but there's just so many shields. But even though there are so many shields, LilRoh's missiles are still managing to get through. Hope is finishing up the main base of LilRoh, so LilRoh will start to lose some mass, but she's been on so many mass extractors this whole entire game. I think she might still have more mass extractors than her opponent. However, I think LilRoh has finally broken through these shields. A lot of these shield generators are going down, and their shields are obviously down as well. And the megaliths are starting to focus fire on the actual structures here. Even though this point defense is still doing work, planes coming in, contributing to some DPS, managing to take out that radar, which is quite curious. You don't really need to take... Whoa, and there's 2 artillery stations, 3 artillery stations that were built here that are now starting to focus fire on this bridge, and that's going to be quite a bit of a problem for Magenra, for LilRoh, if she doesn't manage to break through these shields anytime soon. This is going to be very, very deadly. These planes need to be utilized a little bit more than they are right now. They're just idling there. Hope does not have any planes, so LilRoh would be wise to just go and start sniping buildings, especially these artillery structures, which I believe she's trying to do. Nope, she's not. She's actually going to target down Hope, who research Honker. Oh my goodness. This is why these players are considered professionals. Hope is doing exactly what he needs to do to counter this bombing run. And oh no, is LilRoh going to stop? Nope, there's another bombing run, and that's going to be enough to take care of Hope in this game 1. What a wonderful match. Honestly, this is a very, very interesting match to watch, and I think both players could have used a little bit more of a better strategy, but I think both players played marvelously well. Good job, Hope. That was a very, very good turtle. And LilRoh, I think you made very, very good decisions, made clutch decisions, clutch decision after clutch decision. Megaliths go straight into the face. She did not have to wait until 2 megaliths because her opponent was turtling. So send it right away, moved up here out of range of artillery pieces, and started basically enclosing her opponent with recyclers and all sorts of missile fire here. So very good job, LilRoh. She is going to be 1 up here in this round 2 match between Hope and LilRoh. I'll be right back with match number 2. Welcome back, everybody, to this game 2 between LilRoh and Hope. We have another Cybern versus Cybern mirror, this time on the map of Finn's Revenge. Now, the interesting thing about Finn's Revenge is that it has been played in both the League and the Serpents open map, the most hated map in Supreme Commander 2 right now, I think, or at least in the League, is Finn's Revenge with a ban rate of almost 82%. It has only been played twice, both of which matches were, mirror matches. So this will be very interesting to see. So let's see how this match goes. I'm paused at 5 seconds. Let's go in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so on the bottom left, we have the return of our red commander, the Cybern player with the name of LilRoh, the victor of our last match, who is plopping down mainly some mass extractors, and actually I think that's a research station queued up right there, so that's going to be interesting. I'll talk about that in a second. And her opponent, just like in the last match, we have the Cybern Hope, no pun intended, spawning as his orange commander, opening up with air this time. Actually, he opened up with air last time as well, but also, nope, that's an energy generator. So 1 air, and LilRoh is opening up with research stations. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to always disagree with players. I'm not, I used to be good. I'm not good anymore, but I don't know about opening up with research stations on such a close quartered map. We'll see how that works out for LilRoh. Meanwhile, Hope is sending his first air scout. I'm gonna see exactly what he's facing here. And LilRoh is actually queuing up in Naval Factory. That is gonna be quite interesting. And Hope is flying directly over this, and he sees the commander moving, and actually he's probably gonna see this. Yep, he does see the Naval Factory going down, so he is gonna move forward, and actually he's gonna choose to place down his own Naval Factory right away to counter Hope. However, in this situation, it's not necessarily the greatest idea because, again, Hope went to research stations. You're going to be behind. Navy takes a while to build up. So, if your opponent has been on research and you're going Navy, in 5 minutes when those navies collide, chances are your opponent is going to have a little bit more research. There's also an anti-air tower being built. I think that's a little bit preemptive from LilRoh, but I might have called her Little Hope a couple of moments earlier. If I did, I apologize. Oh man. There's a radar coming out, which is definitely a good idea. At this point, LilRoh is completely blinded as to, well, not completely because she knows there's air out, so she knows that's coming at least. But I think she's expecting 2 air factories maybe, because I think, again, it's a little preemptive that she did that. First boat is going to complete, Salem, sorry, that's what they're called. I haven't seen these boats yet, actually. In the tournament, I haven't seen many boats. Actually, no boats at all. Yeah, this is the first match that has boats out. This air is starting to bombard. I think that's what Hope is doing much better than LilRoh in the last game, is he's actually utilizing his air advantage that he has. But now that Salem is out, obviously those boats have very, very good anti-air, so that's going to be a very effective way. Another reason why I don't think she necessarily needed this anti-air tower is because of that, just such a strong anti-air capabilities of the Salem class. Now let's see when she gets legs. I don't think she has legs yet, otherwise this boat probably would have been on land already. And meanwhile, her opponent also has his first boat. Boats on this map all day long. Cyber Mirror. Probably could have expected that. And again, I don't know this trend of, well, okay, with boats it's a little different situation, especially on this map. If you get legs, you're gonna be very good against anti-air. But I don't know about playing from behind, trying to catch up in air as Cybern. I don't know. I just, personally, I don't see the strength of that or the possibility of it working out. I would focus on land and maybe go adapters. Again, adapters are such a good unit that they counter everything. They're going to counter these boats. They're going to counter this air. And meanwhile, actually, I completely missed that. Hope is bringing his ACU forward and going to start pushing. This is exactly what you wanted to do when you see your opponent rushing Navy. You want to get in their face because chances are they're not going to have much to counter you. However, LilRoh is doing a very good job countering this land push. I think that was a preemptive structure detonation also. Hope was trying to reclaim that or maybe capture that point defense. So she did a good job. You don't want to, for sure, you don't want to let your opponent just steal a point defense in your base. That's definitely not an ideal situation. Meanwhile, these Salem class ships are gonna start firing on Hope's Salem, and actually she does have an advantage in this regard. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hope decides to push back a little bit or pull back a little bit. Actually, he's doing a marvelous job just pulling out of range of those Salem class. LilRoh really needs legs, and she actually just got him, so now those Salems are going to manage to walk on land. It's actually curious that Hope had legs before LilRoh, considering that LilRoh had her research stations out for quite a longer amount of time. Meanwhile, Hope does not even have a research station yet, so that's definitely curious. And how nasty is this? It's very, very nasty, but it is exactly what you want to do, is push your opponent that does not have very many units as of yet. She does have 3 Salems now, which aren't firing actually, and they're now just starting to take out that point defense, and that point defense is falling very, very quickly. However, Hope is doing a marvelous job taking his ACU right in front of this point defense, maximizing its utility and managing to take out 1 research station. What a wonderful play by Hope, and just doing just enough to take that structure out and then pulling back. That was definitely a very, very, very good play. Now, the one thing now for LilRoh that's going very well is that she is assisting her C factory, and both these players have kind of committed quite heavily into Navy, so she is ahead on Navy by any sort of measure right now. She has 3 boats versus 3 boats right now, but she's assisting her C factory. Okay, maybe, well, now it's 4 versus 4, but I'm not sure why she's actually behind on production. Maybe she lost one, maybe. Anyway, she did lose a significant chunk of her base, and probably the most unfortunate loss was this research station. And again, she should be ahead on research, which is why I am saying that she might be ahead in Navy. However, veterancy-wise, they are pretty similar. I wouldn't be surprised if LilRoh was maybe going for battleships, which unfortunately with these factories, there isn't really a way to check what is building in there. That's the one unfortunate thing, or fortunate, I guess, if you're trying to hide what you're doing. However, Hope this time is doing a very good job expanding this time around, so that's definitely going to be a plus for him in the longer game, which this match is definitely looking like right now. I'm going to go ahead and speed up the game again, so I'm going to speed it up to 3. So again, 4 versus 4 boats, and somehow Hope is managing to push out his units much faster. I'm gonna have to re-review the tech tree for Cyber and Navy. It's been a while, but I don't remember. There might be a build time reduction, but I'm still not really sure how he's managing to push out these boats quicker. Maybe it's because he has a better economy. That actually might be the reason. And again, LilRoh is deciding to go air as a counter, which, considering that there's so many boats at this point, is really not a very efficient counter. I would understand if there was no adapters or boats, but at this point this is not going to do a lot of damage. And it's not like she's utilizing it to go and snipe these different locations. She can't really do that right now because she's behind on air. So we'll see what she decides to do. She does have 2 air factories, so maybe in a few minutes she will manage to amass an air superiority force, but really other than harassing around, it's not really going to do much. And also Hope has built his 2nd sea factory, so he's been on 2 sea factories for a while, so definitely now he's going to have quite a bit more of an naval force, and we see that here as an engagement is coming in. These Geminis are going to try and bomb some planes, but again, there's just so much anti-air as LilRoh's boats just completely fall. I think this is the end for LilRoh, and in fact we do see her control K. I think she's tried an interesting strategy here, but I don't think it was a very efficient counter. She kind of dabbled in 2 strategies, or in 2 build orders. She focused on air and sea, and those 2 don't mix very well if your opponent is mixing those 2 strategies as well. So I think she played a good game. She managed to push back her opponent's push, which is actually the most deadliest part about going naval. It's very difficult to counter that in the first couple of minutes, but she did a very good job countering that. So definitely a good game from LilRoh, but Hope did a very good counter, in my opinion, to what LilRoh was doing, and managed to amass just enough boats to basically just walk over LilRoh's forces, and did a very, very good job expanding. So this brings us to the conclusion of round 1 and 2 of the league. So I'm showing the end league results here. So we see Alpha Hex is heading the tournament so far, playing 3 matches and not dropping a map so far. And he's followed by Vanity and LilRoh, and then Morgan Raw, who's only played 2 matches as opposed to his opponents here. But we basically see the same top 4 as from the tournament. I was really hoping and looking forward to. There's definitely this tournament is very stacked with very good players. So we have Unknown Desire, who did a very, very good job against Vanity, and also Rainbows. But unfortunately he got a tie in both of those games. And we have Rainbows, who's also a really good player, and Hope, who's also a really good player, but he has played only 1 match actually. So the win that he has was because a player had to drop out from the league, and so everybody got a free win essentially. So that's why you see some of these players have played 3 games, but nevertheless, a very, very good effort from LilRoh and Hope here, as they are positioned to probably get quite a bit of points in the later rounds. I mean, they had pretty difficult games so far, so from here it might get easier, it might not. This is stacked pretty well with very good players, so we'll see how the rest of this plays out. I will be back next week with another video for replay of the week. If you have any suggestions for me, please do share it in the comments or let me know what you want to see. Again, my channel is really not just about Supreme Commander 2, so I would really appreciate if you would view some of my other videos and like those videos, and just let me know what games you want to see other than Supreme Commander, or maybe what kind of replays you want to see, or what kind of stuff from Supreme Commander you want to see. Other than that, please do subscribe to me if you haven't so already, follow my Discord channel or join my Discord channel, and then follow me on all the other things that are about to probably populate your screen. So thank you very much for watching. This has been Night of Misfortune with Replay of the Week. I will see you very soon. Bye.